I'm here today talking to Constable Melanie Flynn with the RCMP. Thanks for joining me, Melanie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we're talking about the long weekend that's coming up and just some safety tips when you're out on the highways. It seems like there's been, a fair amount of highway collisions and rollovers and things recently. So I'm just wondering, what can people do to stay safe, especially on the big double lane highway?
Yeah, we'll go over some of the tips here. But I just wanted to, reinforce that it is the long weekend this weekend, and it's the first probably nice long weekend we've had in a bit. So Lloydminster RCMP will be out focusing on um, tactics to reduce roadway collisions and injuries, including focusing enforcement around those behaviors that present serious risks to drivers, including drug and alcohol impaired driving, fatigue, distracted driving, aggressive driving, and driving without a seatbelt. So some of those tips to avoid those bad driving behaviors. If you are consuming any drugs or alcohol this weekend, make sure you're arranging for transportation with a sober friend or family member, even a taxi or a ride sharing service of some sort. If you find yourself getting tired, make sure you get enough sleep, number one. And then if you are finding yourself tired, pull over, take a rest. Sometimes we do see impairment through fatigue, right? So if you're traveling down to the south, make sure all the way down Calgary or something, make sure you pull over and take those much needed rests. Also, if you encounter someone who is driving aggressively and you're finding yourself agitated with the situation, pulling over and then contacting the local police force, whether it be Edmonton, Calgary, or RCMP. And then always buckle up, even if you're on a short trip, like a short trip on the highway, make sure you have your buckle seatbelts on.
With the nicer weather as well, I'm sure there's probably on certain stretches, a certain amount of hitchhikers and things like that, that you should probably watch out for as well.
Yeah, I think in the long weekend we do see kind of an uptake of people walking or even people getting out their bikes, especially in like the urban centers. So just be vigilant of people on the roadways, whether they be pedestrians or cyclists, and drive with just driving defensively and driving with vigilance, right, is really important.
Yeah, I think there was sadly a fatal accident involving someone on a scooter in Saskatoon over the weekend, and it was 3 a.m. And I imagine that a lot of people would think, oh, there's probably nobody on the road right now. They might not have even thought, that this person on a scooter would be there, right? So I guess it
Mhm.
is just a matter of being aware of what's out there.
Yeah, like I know if you do find yourself in an urban city like in Calgary or Edmonton, the scooters are often the mode of transportation around those cities nowadays, those electric scooters. So yeah, just be aware that they might be out on the roadways, like on the city roadways, especially during early morning, late evening, right? So
Now, as far as people getting out there, as far as their vehicles and such, is there anything from the police perspective that people should make sure, their vehicles are equipped with?
Yeah, it's always good to have an emergency preparedness kit in the trunk of your vehicle. So, we always preach this at winter time because sometimes we get stuck in the snow. But I think with cars, with the heat too, sometimes we see vehicles overheating, right? And you're stuck in your somewhere on the highway potentially. So make sure you have that emergency preparedness kit on hand. Should include like water and your booster cables, your first aid kit. Trying to keep some extra food on hand in the car is important in case you do find yourself stranded on the side of the highway for a bit waiting for a tow or something like that. So it's good to have that on in your vehicle, and even like changes of clothes and stuff. Sometimes people don't think of that, but if you get stranded in 4 hours away from home, you have to spend the night in a different city, right? It's good to have that stuff on hand too.
Actually, a question that has come to my mind in recent trips where there are vehicles with their hazards on and they're
Mhm.
pulled over to the side of the road. as a woman driving alone, I don't feel comfortable always stopping for those, but I guess what's the rule of thumb with that?
Yeah, I think we do see a lot of motorists pull over and stick their hazard ons if they're taking a phone call or something like that too, right? But yeah, I would, I know good citizens often think, oh, I should stop and check on this person, right? But nowadays everyone has a cell phone, right? If you do see a vehicle that looks suspicious or you have concerns about, just make sure you call the local police force and they can go do a well-being check on the vehicle if it's still there. If you do want to report like dangerous driving or suspicious vehicles, contacting the local RCMP detachment or the local EPS or Calgary police services is important. It's important to know your location. So when you're driving on the highway and you say you don't have your Google Maps on, just be vigilant of what township or range roads you're on. Be able to report to us your location, as well as providing vehicle descriptions. So the best vehicle description you can provide. A license plate is always good and helpful. Then the license plate can give us that information on who might be in the vehicle, right? And then the direction of travel. So if it is a erratic driver on the highway, are they going eastbound or westbound or northbound, southbound? It's good for us to know that information. And then sometimes they'll ask of a time delay, like how long ago did you see this, right?
All right.
Yeah.
Some very good tips, Constable Flynn. Anything that I didn't ask that you might like to mention?
Well, we just hope that everyone has safe travels this long weekend and everyone has a happy Canada Day.
All right. Thanks. Have a good day.
Yeah. Thanks, Leanne.